Writing. The flashing blue lights reflected across the rain-washed highway as luxury cars stood motionless, their polished bodies suddenly meaningless in the face of tragedy. News spread across the city within minutes. The brilliant CEO who had built a billion-dollar empire had survived a devastating daytime highway accident, but almost everyone who once praised her success disappeared the moment they realized she could no longer lead from the corner office. Investors became distant. Executives protected themselves. Friends stopped answering calls. Yet the one person who quietly walked through the hospital doors carrying nothing but a small paper bag of homemade soup was the same single father she had fired only 7 days earlier. Sometimes the greatest act of kindness comes from the person who has every reason to walk away, and sometimes the strongest hearts belong to those who have already suffered enough. Before we continue, if you believe kindness is stronger than revenge and that every person deserves a second chance, please like this video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with someone who believes in compassion, and subscribe to Wisdom Story House for more emotional stories that remind us what truly matters in life. The city admired Victoria Sterling because she seemed fearless. At just 38 years old, she had transformed a struggling technology company into one of the fastest-growing businesses in the country. Every magazine praised her discipline, intelligence, and impossible work ethic. Employees respected her but rarely felt close to her. She demanded perfection, rewarded results, and believed emotions only slowed people down. Few people knew that years of loneliness had quietly built the walls around her heart. She had sacrificed friendships, family gatherings, and any hope of a personal life while chasing success. To the world she appeared unstoppable, but behind the polished smile was a woman who had forgotten what genuine human connection felt like. Across town lived Owen Carter, a 35-year-old warehouse coordinator and devoted single father raising his 8-year-old daughter, Hazel. Every morning before sunrise, he prepared breakfast, packed lunches, braided Hazel's long brown hair as best as he could despite never learning properly, and hurried to school before racing to work. His apartment was small but filled with warmth. Family photographs covered the walls instead of expensive decorations. Old furniture showed signs of years of careful use, yet everything remained spotless because Owen believed dignity had nothing to do with wealth. His greatest dream was simply giving Hazel a peaceful childhood after losing his wife to illness several years earlier. When Owen joined Victoria's company, he treated every task with quiet determination. He rarely complained, volunteered for extra shifts whenever possible, and often stayed late helping coworkers complete difficult assignments. Many employees admired him because he never sought recognition. If someone struggled, Owen offered assistance before they even asked. He believed kindness was a responsibility rather than a choice. Unfortunately, kindness did not impress every executive. During an important product launch, a software failure delayed deliveries. Senior managers searched desperately for someone to blame before shareholders demanded answers. Instead of investigating carefully, several executives pointed toward Owen, claiming a reporting mistake had caused the confusion. Victoria, already overwhelmed by pressure from investors and the board, reviewed only a brief summary before making a swift decision. Believing decisive leadership mattered more than careful listening, she terminated Owen's employment immediately. The dismissal lasted less than 5 minutes, yet it changed everything. Owen walked out carrying a small cardboard box filled with family photos, a coffee mug decorated by Hazel, and years of honest service that suddenly seemed forgotten. He never argued, he never begged, he simply thanked the receptionist for always being kind and quietly left the building. Several coworkers watched through the windows, wishing someone had spoken up before it was too late. The following week became one of the hardest periods of Owen's life. Bills accumulated on the kitchen table. Rent approached. Hazel noticed her father skipping dinner, pretending he had already eaten because he wanted her to finish the last portions of food. Instead of losing hope, Owen spent each morning submitting job applications before picking up temporary work wherever possible. He repaired fences, delivered groceries, cleaned garages, and worked long hours simply to keep their little family moving forward. Every evening he reminded Hazel that difficult seasons never last forever. Then, exactly 1 week after his dismissal, television stations interrupted regular programming with breaking news. Victoria Sterling had been involved in a serious daytime highway accident after another vehicle lost control during heavy traffic. She survived, but doctors warned that recovery would require months of rehabilitation. Almost instantly, uncertainty spread throughout her company. Stock prices fell. Board members scheduled emergency meetings. Executives who once praised her leadership quietly discussed replacing her before she had even left intensive care. The hospital corridors remained strangely silent. Expensive flower arrangements arrived from business partners with printed cards instead of handwritten messages. Lawyers visited more frequently than friends. Family members lived overseas and rarely contacted her. Success had surrounded Victoria with countless professional relationships, yet almost none of them became genuine friendships. When Owen heard the news, he felt no satisfaction. He remembered the humiliation of losing his job, but he also remembered seeing fear hidden behind Victoria's confident expression during stressful meetings. Compassion outweighed resentment. Using the last vegetables in his refrigerator, he prepared homemade soup because he knew hospital meals often lacked comfort. Hazel helped decorate a simple get-well card covered with bright flowers and hopeful words written in colorful pencils. Carrying the small paper bag, Owen entered the hospital during the bright afternoon. Nurses looked surprised because very few visitors had come. Victoria barely recognized him when he stepped quietly into the room. Recovery had replaced confidence with exhaustion. Machines monitored every heartbeat while sunlight streamed gently through the large window, revealing how fragile even the strongest people could become. Owen did not mention losing his job. He did not remind her of unfair decisions. He simply placed the soup beside the bed and wished her strength during recovery. Before leaving, he smiled kindly and reminded her that healing required patience. The visit lasted only a few minutes, yet after he walked away, Victoria stared at the handmade card for nearly an hour. For the first time in many years, someone had shown her kindness without expecting anything in return. As days passed, Owen continued visiting whenever temporary jobs allowed. Sometimes he brought fresh fruit. Other times he delivered books borrowed from the public library or simple crossword puzzles to ease long afternoons. Hazel occasionally accompanied him after school, filling the quiet hospital room with innocent laughter that echoed through the sterile hallways. Nurses noticed that Victoria smiled more during those visits than during meetings with corporate executives. Meanwhile, the company's internal investigation uncovered the truth. Owen had never caused the failed product launch. Several senior managers had manipulated reports to hide their own mistakes and protect lucrative bonuses. Emails, deleted files, and security records revealed the deception completely. The board removed the dishonest executives immediately, but the damage had already been done. An innocent employee had lost everything because leadership valued speed over fairness. When Victoria finally read the investigation report, overwhelming guilt settled heavily upon her heart. She realized that success had made her efficient but not compassionate. She had trusted numbers more than people and assumptions more than truth. The memory of Owen quietly standing beside her hospital bed despite everything she had done became impossible to forget. Months later, after completing physical rehabilitation, Victoria returned to headquarters with a walking cane and a completely different perspective. Employees noticed changes immediately. Closed office doors remained open. Weekly meetings now included opportunities for every worker to speak honestly. Mental health support expanded. Family leave improved. Recognition programs celebrated teamwork instead of competition alone. Her first official action shocked the entire company. She personally visited Owen's apartment rather than asking him to come downtown. Standing before the modest building, she saw children's bicycles, neighbors helping one another, and the simple community Owen had always valued. She apologized sincerely for her terrible mistake without making excuses. She admitted that leadership meant accepting responsibility, especially when failure belonged to the leader. Owen accepted the apology with quiet grace. Forgiveness did not erase the difficult days his family had endured, but carrying bitterness would only steal tomorrow's peace. Victoria offered him his former position with higher pay, better benefits, and a leadership role focused on employee well-being. After thoughtful consideration, Owen accepted, not because of the salary, but because he believed real change deserved a chance. Within a year, the company became known not only for innovation but also for treating employees with respect and dignity. Staff turnover dropped dramatically. Productivity improved because people felt valued instead of afraid. Business magazines praised the remarkable transformation, but Victoria always insisted the credit belonged elsewhere. She often explained that the company's greatest teacher had never attended executive meetings. He had simply carried homemade soup into a lonely hospital room when nobody else cared enough to come. Hazel watched her father regain confidence, and she learned a lesson no classroom could ever teach. Strength was not proving someone wrong. Strength was choosing compassion when revenge seemed easier. Every challenge her family had faced became part of a story that inspired others to believe kindness could truly change lives. If this story has touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a heartfelt comment, and subscribe to Wisdom Story House. Your support helps these meaningful stories reach more people who may be searching for light during difficult times. Special request. Comment below with, "Kindness always wins," if you believe one act of compassion can change someone's entire life. As the afternoon sun shone brightly over the city, Owen walked home beside Hazel, holding her small hand while laughter filled the quiet neighborhood streets. Behind them stood a company forever changed, and ahead of them stretched a future built not on revenge, wealth, or power, but on mercy, forgiveness, and hope. Victoria watched from her office window as employees greeted one another with genuine smiles, realizing that the strongest foundation any business, or any life, could ever have was not success alone, but kindness shared when it mattered most. Some people build empires with money, while others build legacies with compassion. In the end, only one of those is remembered forever.